Moving on. The number 4 reason why you should study history is because
it helps us determine the significance of current events.
Current events are influenced by past events. A good example of this would be the European Union.
In recent years, countries in Europe have formed a union. The purpose of the European Union was to provide political and economic strength in Europe and protect the rights of its citizens.
Wow!
But before you can understand why this union is so important, you first need to know all about the European wars that have taken place in the past years. European nations have been fighting each other for thousands of years.
Well, sure. Just take a look at the 100 Years' War.
Both World War I
and World War II.
The Franco-Prussian War of 1870.
And the Spanish Armada attempting to invade England.
And who could forget William the Conqueror of 1066? He left France and crossed the English Channel to conquer England.
Well, I guess William the Conqueror wouldn't have approved of the European Union.
No.
And these are just a few examples of the conflicts that have occurred in Europe throughout history.
Finally, many of these nations have decided to work with each other rather than against each other. The Union is constantly evolving, adding new member states and updating their founding treaties.
Knowing the history of Europe helps to explain why the European Union was created.
And that's why it's so amazing to see these European nations teaming up.
So if you didn't learn about all the famous European wars, you'd read about the European Union in the newspaper and not realize what a significant event it is.
So, when you learn about history, reading the newspaper and watching the news on TV becomes more interesting and relevant to your life.
This is just one example of how history determines the significance of current events, which leads us to our next reason. The number 3 reason why you should study history is because
it gives us an appreciation for future possibilities.
Yeah.
Billy, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
What?
That it'd be really comfortable to tango in a tutu?
No, but who better to tell us about how the past can help determine what the future may hold than Wilbur Wright?
All right.
Well, thanks for having me on your show.
Now, I'm sure everyone has heard of you and knows who you are, but would you like to introduce yourself anyway?
No.
Well, my name is Wilbur Wright. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I invented the first airplane powered by a gasoline engine.
Whoa.
You, like all of our other guests here today, have had a major impact on society. Why don't you tell us about your little invention?
It all started with glider planes that are being experimented with in Europe. My brother, Orville, and I, we were fascinated with these gliders, so we ourselves began to dream about flying. We knew that there had to be a better way to utilize the airplane other than gliding.
Wow. So how'd you get started?
Well, Orville and I, we owned a bicycle shop. So we could build a wind tunnel outside the shop where we could test our wing design. Eventually, we designed and built our own airplane in 1903.
But how is your airplane designs different than the designs they had over in Europe?
Our airplane was different from the glider because it was powered by a gasoline engine. And on December 17th, 1903, we took our little plane for a flight. It stayed in the air for 12 seconds and flew 120 feet. We flew that plane 3 more times that day. Our longest flight lasted 59 seconds.
Man, how exciting. How did you and your brother feel after your invention actually worked?
We were completely overcome. We had finally accomplished our dream. As I stood there, staring at that plane, I knew that my brother and I were making history.
And how right you were. How did you expect your invention to change the way people lived?
Well, to be quite frank, I never expected it to be so huge. I always envisioned a world where everybody had access to airplanes. I never imagined that airplanes would be so big that they could fit hundreds of people and fly them around the world.
Oh, I love to fly, but you should see Buffy on the plane. Spatter everywhere.
Billy, you don't have to tell everyone about that.
Oops.
Anyways, Wilbur, what do you think the future holds for flight?
Well, just take a look at all the advances in space technology today. I think that space exploration will someday enable humans to live on other planets. I know it sounds impossible. Oh, good one. Like nobody's ever thrown a paper airplane on me before.
It's time again for Flashback.
The Wright brothers will Wilbur Wright was born on April 16, 1867 in Indiana. Orville was born 4 years later on August 19, 1871 in Ohio. Their first attempt at flying came in 1899 with a 5-foot biplane. Eventually, the brothers developed a machine that flew 24.2 miles in 38 minutes and 3 seconds.
Wilbur, you truly epitomize why studying history gives us such an appreciation for future possibilities.
Because your invention had such an impact on our society, even more so than you could ever imagine.
And to think, if we never heard the story of Wilbur Wright, we'd look up in the sky, see all of those jets, and think nothing of it.
But now when you look up and see a plane, you realize how far we've come and how far we can go.